So, good afternoon, everybody, on this incredibly rainy day. I can't believe the rain we've got. But listen, we're not going to talk about that. We're not talking about raining. We're on about raining on our prospects. That's what's going to go on today. Now, there were some things that I posed when I sent this out, and I said, look, are any of you struggling to find prospects? Now, I'm going to say, I know you are, because I can see everybody and what's going on. Okay. And I wonder if you've ever wondered why. Okay, and I'm gonna give you some good reasons, okay? But I'm gonna show you how to get past what I call a place of scarcity and to move more into abundance. And then I'm going to show you something quite stunning, which I've had one of those light bulb moments. And it's really important to share with you why FEC is so important. All right. So we've got a few things to get through, and we're hopefully going to do it as fast as possible. So I think the first thing, this is a bit of what they call I don't expect you to answer. All right. It's a rhetorical question. Okay. Just bear with me while I do this. Because here we go. Yes, I've got it. Right. Now, those of you that are established, I'm not going to say old, but are established in your businesses and have been around a few years, uh, if we can cast our minds back, believe it or not, 10 years. About 10 years ago, when I was struggling with grief because I'd lost my late husband, there was a lot I couldn't do, but there was stuff that I could do. And I suppose you could say that I've got a mind that's very creative. Now, it used to be I was a fashion designer, a menswear haute couture fashion designer, but I am a very cerebral person. And I was told at the time that I should turn what I'd written into podcasts. Now, in those days, this was all prior to Zoom. Does everyone remember when Zoom didn't exist and we used to travel everywhere, didn't we? To go and, yeah. Well, I started to write what I called midweek mutterings, and I sent them out to various teams. Now I can see Alan is smiling, so he possibly remembers some of this. And I actually did about 150 of them. And most of them were fairly short. And I suppose I could have put them into a book. But these days, people don't like reading much, do they? They like to hear things. And so I might at some point when I've got some time, put them into a podcast. But I'm going to share with you why you struggle to reach out to people. And it might help you then understand a little bit more of the mechanics of our brains, all right, and how we are what I call hardwired. So this particular one is all about this, and I called it a one-way street. All right, so I'm going to read it to you because it's the best way and it will help you. So don't speak until you're spoken to. Children should be seen and not heard. Anyone else remember those kind of sayings? Were you told those at school? Well, my mum and my grandparents told me stuff like that. And then when I went to school, I heard a lot, don't speak out of turn, wait for permission to speak. Now, I'm going to share with you, this wouldn't surprise you. I was one of those, I was one of those pupils that was forever putting her hand up, always, because I just didn't want to not know. I wanted to know. All right. Now, my teachers said in my reports, Lisa has a tendency to call out in class, but we put this down to exuberance. And I don't think I've actually changed that much. But you know, all this waiting to be spoken to. Well, obviously, permission was granted, or it might have been. And when I put my hand up, but I could never quite figure out when it was my turn. Anybody else? sort of feel like that, yeah? Then there was, you should keep your opinions to yourself and be careful what you say. And of course, what about mind your own business and don't be nosy, or words to that effect? And if you started to ask questions about people, that was the sort of responses that we got. True? Yeah? You with me so far? Now, all these along with the worst of all for anyone who might want to succeed in the world of business was, do you remember this? Don't speak to strangers. I mean, I ask you, don't speak to strangers. What do we have to do in this business? And we've got to speak to strangers. You know, this stuff was hardwired into my brain. And even now, I share with you, it's still proving extremely difficult to extricate. Now, for those of us in that immediate post-war generation, I believe I'm called a baby boomer. I think we are. We're baby boomers, are we? Yeah, yeah. Our parents had to extend and were very much trained in the philosophy for reasons of national security, but it goes back much longer than that. And you know, all this stuff can be found in the works of Dickens and Shakespeare. The trouble is that all of this seeming common sense is seriously inhibiting to both individuals and a society as a whole. Now, these phrases cause permanent damage when repeated often enough. By the way, it doesn't have to be repeated that much, okay? They inhibit people's potential to a massive degree, and the conditioning, hear that word, conditioning, is extremely difficult to eliminate, having been imprinted at a very early age. But it goes further than this, and for one reason or another. I still find it very difficult to initiate conversations with people I don't know. Do you find that sometimes? Yeah. I know some of you probably thinking, don't talk rot, Lisa. You talk to everybody. Actually, that's not true. I don't. Okay. And sometimes, even amongst friends and colleagues, I find myself waiting my turn to speak. And when I do, I often feel just a little bit guilty, although I've got away with it without having to take a bit of a risk. Now, current generations are attempting to find a way around this conditioning thanks to technology you and I now have available. So instead of opening real conversations, we send emails, text messages, WhatsApp messages, Facebook messengers, and we post our thoughts on social media. We avoid the imprinted constraints by writing and not speaking. Has anyone of the younger generation said to you, I'm chatting on Facebook Messenger? They're not, are they? They're typing, they're texting. Do you know they really do believe they're chatting? And you know what? You can't blame them, and I'm going to tell you why. Have any of you tried to get in touch with a company that doesn't offer proper customer service and they offer you online chat? What a joke. Ugh. Right, so hear this. Unfortunately, in the majority of cases, the majority of emails, the majority of tweets, posts, longer articles on social media, we are talking to ourselves. Were you aware of that? No one is listening. It's a one-way street. A one-way conversation. In fact, do you know what? It's not a conversation at all. Only when people are outrageous, offensive, or deliberately provocative does a conversation start, and then it tends to be an argument. This is borne out by the fact that those who use the internet and social media for marketing are delighted with the response from just a handful of people out of every 100 recipients. Are you aware of this stuff? Everyone is talking, but very few are listening, and even fewer are responding. Sorry, guys, I'm spilling the beans here. I've actually been in advertising prior to doing this, so I know it's true. There is very little sensible debate when someone doesn't attempt to create some sort of standoff or turn it into a slanging match. The internet has become a sort of Tower of Babel, with everyone talking at once and no one is listening and no one really understanding what's going on. And then there's the fake news and generally false information, often masquerading as fact, but often it's just plain nonsense. Of course, as in the old days with the newspapers, radio and TV, if it's on the internet, it must be true. I can see Rosalind nodding. So now we have a reverse of the previous position when everyone was listening to the few who had been given the authority to talk. All that's happened is that the direction of travel down the one-way street has been reversed. But it gives you and I an opportunity. We need to open conversations with real people in real time. We need to encourage people to do the same and to attend events where people are speaking in real life, such as lectures and debates. We need to network with different groups of live people, not on the internet. But most of all, we need to talk. And I ended that little piece with speak soon. Now, does that give you some idea of why people are struggling, excuse me, not to talk? No, they are struggling with reaching out to prospects. Have some of you feel like you've used up all your leads for your past 20Ks? Do you feel like, oh my God, I can't ring that person again? Have you looked at your contact list and thought, when was the last time I added somebody to it? Yeah? Does any of this ring anything? Yeah? So how can you turn scarcity into abundance? When I'm going to tell you now, there are various ways. And I'm going to show you something right now that is on your partner portal. It's pretty new and it's pretty amazing. Now, I personally am not into signing up loads of connectors. Does everybody know what I mean by connectors? Yeah? Okay. Personally, for me, I think they're for charities. I think they've got a real super thing for charities. Personally, I would rather sign up somebody like a financial advisor as a partner, and he starts earning a business and building a business and earning money in the way that we do as partners, not making him just a connector for loads of leads. Are you aware, ladies and gentlemen, that with all these connectors, are you aware you share half your customer bonus? Yeah. Personally, I want to build my residual income. Now, that's up to you. But I know that it's this incredible reoccurring passive income that has been coming in has enabled me this last, I hate to say it now, 3 months of not doing a great deal. And my money hasn't gone down. All right. And that is what I want for everybody. So I'm going to show you something now. Sorry, it's me. Let me get rid of my hand. Right, I'm going to share my partner portal. Get ready to jot some notes. Okay, I know that you're seeing it now. Can you see the word dashboard? Can you see dashboard? Would someone give me a thumbs up? No, no. Yes, you can now. Right. Now, look, guys, I'm sharing with you. I'm very honest. I'm very upfront. Listen, this is a bad month for me. And as you can see, I have got just 4 points. Some of you, I'm very pleased with you. Well done. You've got a lot more than me. But I want you to notice something. I have got my FEC. Okay. But this is a bad month for me. But if anybody was a fly in the wall in my life at the moment, you would understand why. All right, you really would. I want to show you this. If you go down to news, write news, and now go to tips and tools. See that one? Tips and tools. And now I'm going to show you something. Just bear with me. It is in here. And it is, where is it? Come on, it's connectors. Where is it? It's got to be right at the front here because I've had it come. Oh, here it is, right in front of me. Right. Connectors marketing tools. Now, double click and you get this. Okay. And what I want to show you is there's lots and lots of information, but can you see this personal planner? If you download this, this is really good. It's going to give you masses of ideas of how to get prospects. And I'll tell you what I particularly like, and I believe you should print this off. There's loads of stuff here, by the way. I'm not going to read all this because that's stupid. You can, all right? I've shown you where. But this is what I'd like you to do. Look. Do you remember the days we used to write lists? Look at this. Who do I know? And it and there's also, look, conversation starters. Look at this stuff. The whole point of me is to show you where to go and how to do stuff. Okay. It's really good. Look at this, a contact log. How good is that? You could print this off. I have pages of it. Isn't that brilliant? Because a lot of people find it difficult to be what I call organised. Now, I do everything in my diary. You all know that I am the proverbial dinosaur and I work off of pen and paper, but it works for me. And I know some of you use your, you use your apps and everything. But look, this stuff is really, really good. And I really, really suggest it. Okay? So that stuff is useful. Now, I'm going to say to you this. Oh, well, actually, I'm going to ask you all a question. You can put your hands up. Who has watched the Sunday that's just gone and it's out on release? Who's watched The Big Night In? Yeah? It's good, isn't it? It's good. The previous week, it was all ladies. This week, it's all men. Yeah, and it's really good. And you don't have to be there on the Sunday night. You can watch the replay. And I actually think there's something good about a replay because you can go back on it and you can pick out the things that really resonate with you. Yeah. Now, one of the things I'm going to share with you that's resonated with me is that things were said, which I know I say. And that is, if you feel you are scarce of people and you're out and about or you're meeting up with someone, the easiest way to reach somebody is not to have strangers. Are you aware of that? Yeah. I'll tell you who said it really succinctly. Leon Warner at the kickoff said, imagine going up to a complete stranger. By the way, assuming I would walk up to a man. All right. Am I allowed to say that? Not one that identifies as a fox, by the way. I mean, a real man. All right. So if I went up to them and spoke to them for a couple of minutes and then said, would you marry me? Do you think that he would do a runner really fast? Yeah. Because there's no rapport. Now, this is the same. We've got to build rapport. How do you build rapport? Well, I've heard this in that Sunday night's coaching, and it's what I say is, do you know the easiest way is ask someone some questions. You know, questions are the answers. Now, I wrote down here, we are humans, we are not robots. So I'm sorry, guys, but AI don't swing it. And that's why bot chat doesn't swing it. Okay. And what we've got to do is connect. The word rapport really should say connect, that you mentally are in tune and you feel, here it is, the big one, that you share the same values. Because when I can see Rosalind nodding there, when you're on the same wavelength, that's the terminology we say, you are in sync, and all of a sudden, that person is willing to listen when they weren't. So you mustn't sell. Don't sell. Okay. And a couple of them on the big night in actually said, I don't even mention UW. Don't even mention it. Now, I've got to say, I'm pretty much in that camp because what I do, and I've written it down, you could ask somebody, what do they think? What do they think of the British weather? I tell you what, at the moment, it would be, I would say, a 99% chance they're going to come back and go, are you having a laugh? What, all it does is rain and it's cold, and they would probably go off on one. Ask them what do they think of the economy at the moment. Oh my God. I think you'd get a similar response, wouldn't you? Yeah. So when someone starts outpouring their woes, okay, especially the economy, you can what I call tweak this to get the responses you want. Now, Big Al says it's he's got a really good phrase, something about it's mind manipulation in a very positive way. It's getting them to respond to you in a format that you're after. So I'll give you an example because it's the best way. It's testimonial and this is real. So on Sunday, we actually had a few hours off and we went over to Lymington. Funny enough, guess who we bumped into? Rob Barris, back from the Maldives. He said to me, what are you doing on my patch, Lisa? And I actually, when we were going around and about, I was expecting to hear the name Rob Barris a lot, and I would expect that. Because would you say he's quite sort of like extrovert? Yes? Yeah, yeah. Well, actually his name did come up. Now, we went into a shop, and I'm going to explain this, and Juan fell in love with a bit of a psychedelic shirt. And we got chatting to the two ladies, and she was the designer of these shirts, and it was really nice. And so I sort of like asked her a load of questions about what she did, and she was explaining, and it was all organic cotton and all this stuff. And then I said to her, do you know what? I think you're really talented. And I said, actually, my background, truth, I said, I'm a qualified menswear haute couture fashion designer. That's what I did my degree in. I said, but I gave it all up. And she said, oh, what do you do now? Oh, happy days. See, you got to just pose the right thing to get the right question. And I said, and I laughed, and Juan looked at me and he laughed. And you could see her and the other one looking at each other. And I said, well, what it is, I said, it could be more different. I said, I show people how to earn an amazing financial living by showing others how to reduce their bills at home. And she said, is that a utility warehouse? I said, yeah, do you know it? She said, yeah, I do. And I said, well, fancy that. I said, are you a customer? She said, yes, we are. I said, what have you got? And she told us, only energy. And I said, you're missing a trick. I said, who helped you sign up? And she said, you know who. And I said, fantastic. I said, if you haven't got his number, I'll give it to you because you need to get back to him and get a few more services. Now, I work, by the way, guys, I work in a very ethical manner, and there was no way I was going to prospect her as a partner. Okay, just so you know, that's the way I am. And I reverted her back. But there was a conversation. Now, we then went for a little bit of lunch. Anyone know the Mayflower Inn on the front there? We were in the Mayflower Inn, and we had a lovely, lovely lady that was just so wonderful as a waitress. I mean, really went out of her way to accommodate. And I thought to myself, do you know what? You'd be just the right kind of person for this. I thought, I've got to find a way of talking to her. Anyway, so it came to the bill and we did the usual bits. And I said to her, do you really love what you do? She said, yeah, I do. I said, I thought you did because it really shows. I said, you've got a great way with people. And I said, you're just the kind of person that I'm looking for my business, because I'm a recruiter. And straight away she went, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I said, it's a bit different to what you do, but I said, it is kind of similar because you've got to be able to get on with people. And it is customer service based. She said, oh, really? I said, do you keep your options open about earning extra money? And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you had more money coming in, if I could show you a way, here, guys, this has been recorded. If I could show you a way of putting in a couple of hours, only even a month, and you had about 300 quid coming in, would you be interested? She went, too right. So I got my phone out and she gave me her name and number. And I sent her some stories, UW stories. I sent her service industry, how you earn, and younger generations. Now, what I would say to you is, at the moment, she hasn't quite responded, and I'm going to phone her, but I've got to pick my time because that lady works long hours. Now, nothing might come of it, but what I would say is, every single time we're out and about, I do believe we often miss opportunities. And you don't have to sell it, force it down their throat. And that, and I'm really plugging up here the big night in, the one that's just, it's still here. You can see it at any point tomorrow from, I think it's about 6 in the morning, right up to 10:30 tomorrow night. If you've not seen it, come on, shake a leg. Just put it, even watch it on your phone, because there's some good stuff in there. And it is no different to the things I say. So here's some tips on how to reach out. I've given you those, right? But also, I've been going through my back catalogue of WhatsApp conversations. Does anyone know what I mean by that? You know your list. Okay. Now, sadly, or good, I don't know, there are hundreds and hundreds for me. People that I have prospected in the past, I've sent them WhatsApp stories, UW stories, I mean, and nothing's come of it. But you know what? The reality is, for many people, it might have not been the right time. And there's a brilliant thing, I think I sent it out. It was David Ross. I sent it out to all the teams. He said, no such thing as no. Yeah. And if you haven't watched that or read it, please do, because that is also really useful. But what I've been doing is looking at the conversations and thinking, I think I'll give them a call. Because do you know what? I always think January is a wonderful excuse to get back in touch with people. So I've been ringing people up. Hey, please note what I just said there. I didn't say I sent them a message. I've been picking up the phone and I've been ringing. Now, some I've got in touch with. And in fact, one lady I've now got an appointment with on Thursday morning. So a few calls, sometimes it can just be timing. And that's what David Ross says. Go back through your WhatsApp conversations. Have a look at any of your, not necessarily all the 20K leads, because I do believe a lot of those, once they're after a certain time, I do think they can be dead, if you know what I mean. But I think conversations is different. And you don't go in there sort of like a bull in a china shop. Again, sort of like I've been ringing and saying, hello, is this, let's say her name was Sarah. Hello, Sarah. You and I met and we had a long chat. And at the time, I sent you some information about extra income coming into your house. It wasn't the right time then. Can I ask you, have you managed to, here it is, have you managed to achieve everything you wanted to in regards to income coming in the house? Or do you think some more money would help you? Now that's a bit different to, would you just like some more money? Because honestly, everyone would say yes, but it doesn't always fit the bill. It's a little bit different. Guys, do you know what? In truth, I don't think you've really looked at all the the people that you've been in touch with in the past. I think you need to look at it and you've got to just say, look, I know it's hard picking up the phone. It's called fear and it stands for false evidence appearing real, because invariably I've never had anyone be really nasty to me at all. And if you do it in the right manner, all it shows is that you're caring. And there's all sorts of lovely little phrases you can say. You know, some of you will know this. One of the things I often say is, are you the kind of person that always looks for good value? You know, you're smart, you make conscious decisions of the right things at the supermarket. Do you know most people will say yes and then say, but do you look at the back door? Because if you're letting money fly out the window through things like essential services, what's the point of doing the stuff at the front if you're letting it go out the back? Why don't we get together? Why don't we have a look at this? There's no skin off your nose. There's a phrase I use a lot. That's instead of, what's it called? What's the salesman's quip? A no obligation quotation. Oh my God, I hate it. So does this stuff help a bit? Is that going to help you a little bit more? Because do you know what, guys? There are still 4 days left of January. And one appointment can change everything. And I've seen it. I've seen it happen. One appointment can turn things around. One appointment could get you 4 points, your FEC. One appointment could get you a load of referrals. And there's another one, the referrals. Please, please, please. Your existing customers. You know what? They are the people you've already built some rapport with. They're people to go back to, have a chat with. How are you? How's things going? I know what most of you are thinking. Oh my God, I'm not touching them. I won't leave them. Oh no. Do you know what? I might get some bad stuff come back. No. If you do, if something's amiss, do you know what? It's a chance to fix it. And they become your better customers. And I can see you nodding. I know you know this stuff, really. It just sometimes you need reminding. So look, we're 4 minutes past. We're there. Okay. I hope that stuff was a little bit more help to you. Okay. And if you haven't watched The Big Night In, guys, it's out there with you. Please, please jump on. There's some really great stuff. And have a look at that whole stuff linked to connectors, because there's some gorgeous things in there that can help you too with reaching out to your prospects. And as we say, next week it's going to be February. Oh gosh, can you believe it? So same time, same place. Next week, the password will be Yessave Feb. See you all. Bye-bye.